Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So this is pretty big news. I'm very excited. I haven't been able to say something like this in a while, but we have two new handguns that have been added to the California roster, and at least thanks in part due to Boland V Bonta. So let's go ahead and talk about what they are and how it happened. This channel is proud to be sponsored by SDI, Sonoran Desert Institute. Have you ever wanted to learn more about gunsmithing, firearms repair, or shooting sports management? Enroll in one of SDI's online programs or courses to take your hobby to the next level. Payment plans and funding options are available, so visit the link below or call 480-999-4767 to learn more. Now, I want to start off by thanking David for bringing this to my attention. I don't check that list very often because things just don't get added very often, so it almost becomes useless. But he brought this to my attention, so I went over there, and sure enough, I saw 3 things on recently added. So if you go over to the roster through the California DOJ's website, the roster will bring up newly added. So you can click on newly added, and the stuff that's most recent will have an asterisk next to it. And so it'll say those models. There were 3 things. One did not have an asterisk, but I know it was added not that long ago, and that was the Juggernaut Tactical JT9. But there are 2 things with asterisks that were just added on May 24th. As a matter of fact, one of them was something I tried to get while I lived there, and I just couldn't because it wasn't available. And that is the Ruger SR22 and the Ruger Mark IV. So these, I understand, are both rimfire and might not be as exciting as having like a Gen 5 or something like that added to the list, but this is still a very big deal because it shows a start, again, in part because of Boland V Bonta, which put an injunction on some of the parts of the roster. So originally, Boland V Bonta said that you could not have a restriction on the magazine disconnect, the loaded chamber indicator, and microstamping. But the state obviously appealed. Now, when the state appealed, for some reason, they didn't appeal for the microstamping part. They only appealed for the magazine disconnect and the loaded chamber indicator. So those are the only 2 things that got appealed. Now, under appeal, they won their appeal, and the injunction was overturned on those 2 things. But now, as of right now, as it stands for the rest of this case at least, there's no requirement for microstamping. And so microstamping was a requirement to get on that list. As a matter of fact, there's been kind of changes to what the requirements on microstamping were. There used to have to be multiple stamps in multiple places where it matched serial numbers. Now it only has to be stamped in one place. Well, that's gone. And so all of these companies that already have things that have an LCI or a magazine disconnect, they don't have to worry about the microstamping anymore, which means they can apply to be put on the roster, which is exactly what Ruger did here. So I actually called Ruger, talked to a specialist who just deals with the things that were added to the roster, and I wanted to ask, is there any difference between the one that you're sending in California now and what's already available to everybody else? And they pretty much said no. There's really no difference at all. They gave California a little bit of a price cut, it seems, but they already had the requirements there because the 22, the SR, already has a magazine disconnect, and it also has a little window which is right above the chamber, so it kind of works as an LCI, and you can look down, then you can see. So that's all the requirements that they needed. It meets all of the safety requirements California has as far as, you know, other drop safe requirements, things like that. So it already met the needs that they were looking for. And so they were able to basically just create a new SKU because they weren't able to use the old SKU, is what he told me. So they had to create a new SKU that says it's California compliant, and they did that for both models, and they tested it out, they tried it, they submitted it, and the approvals went through. You know, the submissions were approved by California, and they were added to the roster, which kind of gives the green light now to a lot of other things out there, because you got the SR9 and several other models that already have some of the requirements, or maybe were there in the state before, that these companies can now start putting back on the list. So they can basically reapply, just create a new SKU, reapply, and get put on the list if it has at least those 2 things. Now, I know that's not great. It's just a Band-Aid, right, until we get to the solution, which is just stopping the roster altogether, which is totally unconstitutional. And I feel very heavily that we're going to win this one. But at least for now, this shows that it's possible. And so while people might not be super excited that this rimfire is not a centerfire, I still think, again, for the broader picture here, which is something I talk about a lot, I think this is great. And I think that if other companies follow, they'll see what a big market California is. I mean, the number of background checks done in California every year dwarfs most states. And so it's there. It's there. If you can get something on that list for now, until we overturn everything, and people in California will be able to live with the stuff that everybody else in the rest of the country is allowed to have. Until then, I think that companies should try and support the people in California, especially the people in California that have been supporting them. I cannot tell you how difficult it is to live in California, and you watch these YouTube videos or you watch these posts or you're on Instagram or whatever it is, and you see the newest, latest, and greatest thing come out, or we have this and now they've added this, and there's all sorts of different features and you can't have it, right? I mean, you watch like videos from SHOT Show, and you see all these cool things that are coming out, and all these different models. Some are just models that California already has, but maybe the finger grooves were taken off of it, right? So Gen 3 with finger grooves, but for some reason you take the finger grooves off it, it's no longer allowed in California. And that's the most frustrating thing in the world, to be able to see everybody having fun and getting the things that they enjoy and enjoying their hobby, right? And California gets left in the dust. It's terrible. Trust me, I understand that. So even though it's rimfire and not anything else, I still think that is a big move. I think that it was very bold and strong of Ruger to do that, and to see them kind of make that leap back into the California market, and hopefully other companies follow, now that obviously we've seen that was green lighted. So that's great news, and I wanted to share that with you. Again, thanks Dave for letting me know about that. I'm now going to start checking that roster more often to see what else happens, but hopefully we'll see more soon. Again, I just wanted to let you guys know about that great news out in the state of California, and we'll follow Boland V Bonta very closely, and hopefully everything else gets overturned as well, and Californians can get a little bit of freedom back. Thanks very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. You guys have a great day.